Welcome to another episode of Thrive by the Rising Muse, the podcast where we explore the intersection of faith, family, and mental health. Today we have a special guest who brings a well of knowledge and experience in both the realm of homeschooling and life coaching. Stay tuned. I'm Naty.
I'm Veda.
And we are here to thrive.
Imagine a back to school season where the classroom is your living room. The curriculum is tailored specifically to your child's interests and strengths, and the schedule is as flexible as your family needs it to be. Sounds intriguing? That's the reality for homeschooling families like Nicole's. Today, we're diving deep into what makes homeschooling a unique and adaptable approach to education.
Please help me welcome Nicole Richards. She's a certified life coach, entrepreneur, and dedicated homeschooling mom. Nicole, we're really happy to have you.
Yes, we are.
Welcome to Thrive.
Thank you, ladies. You made homeschooling sound so romantic. I want to jump into wherever it is you said we're going.
Now that is true.
We are homeschoolers. We know.
As I was reading it, I was like, is that us?
It sounds good on paper, didn't it?
Believe me, it does not feel romantic when we doing homeschooling, okay?
Oh my goodness. It's not, there is no, you know what, there is fulfillment and there's benefit, but it's messy. You should see my kitchen.
You should see our house.
Yes.
Okay.
Because our homeschooling area is living room and dining room. Well, the other day I discovered that I had a table under the papers.
Mm-hmm. And it's glass.
And it's, yeah.
Oh, really?
We forgot.
Yes. And that's because we worked up until June. We just took July off. So we still had not been able to move all the papers out of the way. And we have a high schooler and a preschooler.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So while one is doing the high schooler in the living room, in the dining room, the other one is with the preschooler in the living room on the floor. And then the little one wants to watch a video and scream, and the other one is like, why is he screaming? It's fun. It's just fun.
But I thought you guys had it covered because you had such a beautiful monologue. I thought you were living the reality of that fairy tale fantasy.
She called us out. I like her.
You know what? We want all of life to be that way. We want our marriages to be that way. We want homeschooling to be that way. But guess what? Life gets super messy.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
That's now what I read. That's our intention.
That's the dream.
Yeah, that's the model that we want, but we don't always get that.
No, that's how we want our kids to remember it. And so hopefully, like when my son is 10 and my daughter's 14, maybe when they're 45 and 48, they might remember it like that.
That's a long way to go. Oh my God.
Because he's 3.
Yeah, he's 3.
That's a long time.
That's a long way.
Going on 35.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He believes that he rules the house.
He does.
He does.
Nah. When I'm on my way out the door, the 3-year-old is telling me, do you have your keys? Do you have your wallet? Okay, we're ready to go.
Do you have your phone?
Oh, yeah, do you have? Yeah. He runs me through them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never asked him to do that.
The funny thing is that when you actually give them the freedom to think, right? Because that is what homeschooling does. It gives them the ability to critical think, to be themselves, to have a say at times, right? Not every time. Bedtime, there's no say. Homeschool, like work, there's no say. But like there are other times where they can contribute. And your little guy has figured out where he fits in. He's the organizer.
Definitely. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And all of our lives revolve around him.
We tried to make sure he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
But he figured
He
out.
knows it. He knows it.
You ask him if he's spoiled, he'll tell you yes.
You ladies are fooling nobody. Nobody.
No.
He totally knows it. Yes.
Yes, he does. He's too smart not to. Well, we wanted to talk a little bit about how different. Let me ask you this: did your kids ever went to public school or private school, or did you homeschool from the beginning?
No, so I was a makeup artist. I had a makeup studio. I had a team of 15 artists. And we went out into the world and painted the town red with lipstick and eyeshadow and hairspray. And if you had said to me back then that I'd be homeschooling, I would think you were absolutely crazy.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
And so my kids started in Montessori, and I really
Mhm.
loved that program because they taught critical thinking.
Mhm.
And each child was paced at their own pace. So if one child was like good with counting to 200 at 2.5 years old, right, then that child can move on to counting to 225, and the other
Mhm.
children would catch up when they caught up. And how they managed that, I don't know, but it was fantastic. And then I realized, okay, our family budget cannot handle 2 children in Montessori. So we went to a Christian school, which was much
Mhm.
more cost effective. Now, we
Mhm.
did lose that independence that the children were learning. They were learning how to, serve lunch to their friends. So they would have these lunchtime things that the children would learn. All of that stuff where they learned how to clean. All of that actually went out the window when they went to the Christian school.
Mhm.
But we gained still like that sense of family, that sense of centering around Christ and biblical centering. And so
Right.
we loved our Christian school. Um, and then the pandemic showed up and knocked on all of our doors.
Mhm.
And I remember being in my home office, and I look down to my right and I have a child on a Chromebook, and I look down to my left and I have a child on a Chromebook, and I'm like, what is this? And when are these people going back?
Mhm.
And why? Okay, it's been like 3 weeks. It's been a month. It's been 2 months. It's been
Right.
4 months. So when are they leaving my house?
Right.
I have work to do.
Hmm.
And actually, before I continue on, I'm going to put a pin right there and say, my daughter is 14. When she was 2, I was in a Bible study with only homeschooling moms.
Mhm.
So there I was with my highfalutin job as a makeup artist, and I'm in a Bible study with only homeschooling moms. So that was just, I don't even know how that happened. And they were championing me. My daughter was so young, and you can do this. It'll be great, Nicole. Come on. And I'm like, you guys are super women. I can't do
Mhm.
that. So fast forward like 7 years, and there's my daughter, the same child, like sitting on the floor of my office, and I'm thrown into this idea of homeschooling. Um, and I'm in Canada, so our lockdowns were quite extended. And I thought to myself, they're going to go back to school in September 2021. That's what we were told. And I thought, we had some lockdowns. And if they do this again, I'm going to be paying for my children to be in my own home while they're doing Zoom meetings. And so I said, we can't do this. So just,
Mhm.
I survived. They stayed home for almost a year and a half.
Mhm.
And we did this. And so now we're going to figure out how to do this on our own, because I don't know, I felt a little set up all those years ago, listening to all those homeschooling moms tell me that I could
Hmm.
do it. And
Mhm.
so somehow I figured that out. And yeah, they've been home since that.
You know, I say that I am a homeschooling advocate. I'm not a homeschooling evangelist, and what I mean by that is, I don't think I don't want to convince anybody to homeschool.
Mhm.
That's your decision. However, there's a lot of people who want to homeschool and think they can't for whatever reason, and that's what I mean. I'm an advocate. The only um, episodes we've done that are not strictly mental health have been about homeschooling, and the one that coming probably next month that it's about not mental health, it's about homeschooling, because well, like I said, we're homeschoolers, and if you would have told me that I was going to homeschool, I would have also thought that you were cuckoo, because she's homeschooling is my fault. I was the one who dragged her into it. But yeah. And I to be honest, I have to look back, when was it that I even heard that homeschooling existed? Because when I was growing up, I didn't know a single person who was homeschooled. Unless you were a sick kid that was in the hospital and the homeschooling was the teacher sending homework to their houses or something like that.
Hmm.
Mhm.
But I never heard of homeschooling until, I mean, it probably exists. Or, again, I would think that homeschooling was just for, no disrespect to anybody, but, this communes with ladies in the prairie dresses and stuff like that, you know. But then a child comes to my life,
Unexpectedly.
and well, the world changes. The world changes.
Well,
It
thank
is.
But what I'm trying to, you see things in a different way.
you.
And I think, and we're all parents, so we always want not only what's best for them, but for them to have it better than we had it.
Yes.
And the problem for me is I went to private school from pre-K through college, but I can't afford uh that kind of education. And when I look at what public education is doing, because we have other kids in the family who are actively in public school,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, I can't. I can't. And you said you're in Canada, right?
Yes.
Right. So we have a different issue, which was when I said I can't do this, is the school shootings. And
Rob Elementary.
no, Rob, no, mine was the Texas one. Uvalde.
That was Rob Elementary.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
I just remember Uvalde.
Mm-hmm.
The baby was year and a half when,
Yeah.
see, because the majority of the shootings happen in high schools,
Yes.
and you usually think you have thought about him being a man and an adult or in college, but you're within the, well, where the area you're in. If you're in the infant area, that's where your
That's where your
brain
mind
is.
stays because he's totally little. He's a little guy. Yeah.
Right. But he was about a year and a half, and the Uvalde shooting happened. It was in an elementary school. The police, I don't know if you've heard it, but the police cowered in the
Yeah.
hallway
Yes.
for an hour and a half
Yes.
while these kids were calling 911 and begging for their lives.
Mhm.
And that day I looked at everybody in the family and said, we're homeschooling. Did I know what I was getting myself to? No, I had no clue. Now that I had announced to the world that I'm homeschooling, I need to figure out what is it.
And I didn't know that when I agreed with her that I was going to be pulled into this thing.
Yeah, I was not going to do this
She
by
said,
myself.
homeschooling. Yes, girl, do it.
Do it.
Mhm. Praise Jesus. And one day I woke up and I'm sitting at a table with an 18-year-old doing chemistry experiments. How that happened?
How that happened? I don't even know. Every family has to make the decisions that work best for
Yes.
them, for where they want the direction of their family and their children to go. And so you made a decision based on safety. I think this might sound extreme to some people, but I think I made a decision more so based on mental health and like the
Yes.
direction of, and maybe the two of them, maybe we're really doing the same thing. It's safe
Right.
in one way
Yeah.
for you, but it's safer in another way for me. I knew before I had children, I did not want them in the regular school system.
Mhm.
Many people I find they don't remember what it was like to be at school. I completely remember those
I do.
experiences. I didn't have any bullying issues really.
I-
I did.
Mhm.
There's some times that kids really are just kids.
Mhm.
But I remember, and like, sorry to anybody who's a teacher out there, but I remember the teachers being mean. I remember the teachers yelling at students, and not like, this isn't I don't have necessarily a lot of stories about me directly, but I remember wondering, why do they talk this way? Why does everybody sound so angry? Why, like, just having all these questions. When I have kids, we're not doing this, and I don't know what that means, but we're not doing this. And as a makeup artist, I met along the way in 20 plus years, I met lots of people that were doing many different things. And so I met people who were in their 30s, early 30s, who remembered being in Montessori. And I couldn't believe that they had such vivid memories of being a child. And then they remember being integrated into a regular school. And just, I heard a ton of those stories. And I thought, I think I have to check out this Montessori thing. I don't think it really sounds like it's in my budget, but I'm going to totally figure this out. And then we had our first child, and that's what we did. And then unfortunately, as my marriage didn't work out the way that we had both expected, I did put my kids into a public school for this long. Okay.
Uh-huh.
This long. And it was only this long because I remember dropping my son off late, and there was a teacher holding the door, and there were children in front of my child, and one by one they went in the door, and this woman said, "You're late, go to the office. You're late, go to the office." And I'm in my car and I can hear this, and I'm like, what's a good morning to you? Like, you can't just give a little kid a good morning. Hey, Johnny, good to see you, but you are late. Can you go to the office? Right. And it brought me back to the reason as to why I was killing myself to put my kids through Montessori and into the Christian school. And I'm like, we're out of here. So we actually went right back to where we came from, and I had to figure that out. And then when COVID came, it gave me an opportunity to look at education differently, and look at what is it that I want my child to learn. So I don't know if you ladies did this, but I started acting like we were in school. So when we left our school and now the kids are in my own care, I started to act as if I was the teacher. And I thought, I'm not a teacher. What am I doing? And the homeschool community will tell you, we're not duplicating school. That's not what we're here to do.
That's why we're not leaving them at school.
At school, right. And so again, like you had a safety concern. Some people have an education concern. And what is it?
I had both.
Yeah, what is it that I want my child to actually learn? So they were not doing so well when I was pretending to be the teacher. And I think the turning point came for me when my daughter was doing some math homework, and a lot of it wasn't correct. And let me back up and say, my daughter, we started homeschooling when she was in grade 4. And in that moment, I realized she was behind. Okay. So when we stopped school in the school that we absolutely loved, and I was paying for lots of money, she was behind, and I didn't understand that. So she was having these meltdowns as we were doing math. And so I took a step back and I said to her, "Honey, why are you crying?" And she said, "Because I got them all wrong." I said, "Okay." And I actually did this. I looked over my shoulder and I looked over my shoulder and I said, "You got them wrong. Are there any teachers here?" And she said no. And actually she cried even harder. Okay. And remember, we love our school. Like I don't have any qualms with these people, but there is something about the education system and how they tell a child that they're wrong, the child's inability to kind of redeem themselves and work through the process, which is what Montessori did. That gave them a chance to work through a process to make sure they understood it before they moved on. And ladies, there was just that darn red pen, that darn stupid, excuse my mouth, that red pen, and the psychological, I'm not a doctor, but there is a psychological part of seeing those red marks on your paper and knowing that you got it wrong. So that was a real big turning point. I said to her, "I don't even have a red pen. My pen is purple." Right. And so I said to her, "We're not in school. That's why we're here. Okay. So we're here to learn. And if you make mistakes, we just have to figure it out and figure out what process works best for you. And then we're going to do it again until you get it right." But there's no time limit. We can just keep doing it again until you get it right. So every family has to decide what it is that works for them when it comes to homeschooling and why they're actually doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me this. What factors do you consider when you're selecting your or designing your curriculum for your children?
So we've done a couple. It's a lot of trial and error to figure out what your kids are going to resonate with. It's an expensive trial and error sometimes. My kids are getting to a point where they're independent workers. They can literally open some curriculum and go through it, and then we can go through it after, because I am working. So sometimes school looks like them doing independent work. In September, the decision I made was to more so find them community. So we are going to be doing more of an English program or a literature program that is an online classroom where they can take their ideas and go back and forth with their classmates and discuss and have discussion with their teacher. But I wish I had more of a technical answer. It's more so like, Naty, what works for you? Like, Veda, what works for you?
Exactly.
Maybe I should try that. And then I kind of look into it and I think, do I understand this? Do I understand where this curriculum is trying to take us? What journey is it trying to take us on? I also, like I said, I'm working, so I have to make sure it's very clear. It has to be very easy for me to implement, so that if they're independent, they can actually get the work done on their own until I can get to them. But many homeschooling families, the parents are very hands-on, and they will create their own curriculum. They will take pieces of curriculum and put them together into something else. You're that creative type. Okay. That's not me.
Yeah, that's me. I don't grab a curriculum and we follow. I say, okay, we need to teach these classes, and here comes. Yeah, I make a puzzle out of stuff.
But you basically take the pieces of Lego and make a new creation.
Yes.
You make a new creation out of it, right? And so I need something that's a little bit more straightforward, right? So I think if someone were to start this or to start thinking about it, it is good to tap into a community. Obviously, you Naty, have figured some things out, and there are people that have gone before us. So don't reinvent the wheel. There's lots and lots of people that are very willing to share how they do it.
One of the biggest, huge myths of homeschooling is that the kids don't socialize. So tell our audience, how social are your kids? But before you say that, remember we told you there's an 18 and a 3-year-old. Well, the 18-year-old has friends. We just pulled him out of school a year ago. So he had the public school experience until then. And like you said, once we sat down, it's like, oh my God, you are so behind. And this was to graduate high school. So Saved by the Bell, like, But with the 3-year-old, he is the one with the social life. I'm an Uber driver.
Right.
That's all. I mean, we have him in the calendar.
Yes.
Because he has so many activities.
Right.
So I'm not, if he needs more socialization, somebody needs to tell me what I'm supposed to do. He's in sports. We have a co-op once a week. He has programs at the library that he goes.
Story time.
We got story time at the library. We have we go to a toddler at the museum. It's like, I'm telling you, I have to think about, okay, so when can we record a podcast? Because, I have this and that. And and like I said, all I do is I drive. I'm his Uber driver.
Homeschooling, I wonder if that idea that they're not social comes from the fact that there was a time when it was hard to find other homeschoolers, right? But in 2024, actually, I'll back up to that Bible study group that I was in. Now we're talking 12 years ago. Those women said, you have to be careful with socializing, because there could be so much socializing you forget to do school. And so that has always rung true. And about a year and a half ago, I overpacked our schedule, because there are fantastic women like you who plan things and they like to do things, and they're undercover event planners. And all of a sudden we're like horseback riding, and we're doing swimming lessons, and we're going to the science museum, and we're and then after 6 months, I was like, wait a minute, what school did we get? Getting school done.
She's been spying on me.
Thank God I have a witness.
And your son is 3, and you have one that's 18. And so people are like, well, where are their friends? And I'm like, we have too many friends. We have way too many friends.
He has 3 best friends. I'm not getting to the 3-year-old. So imagine the other regular friends. And because he's very antisocial, everybody knows him. like the librarians, and not just the one that works with him, all the librarians in the several libraries that we visit
Oh.
know him by name.
So he needs a podcast. And that's the beauty of homeschool. We could actually create a podcast for him.
Oh, he would love to.
He would love it.
Look, I have to make sure he's not in the house when I'm doing a Zoom call.
Right.
Because he comes in and goes, "Can I say hello?"
Yep.
And he wants to talk to the person. Oh my God, if we did a podcast with Mason, that would be hilarious.
And he can talk to he can interview other homeschool kids and ask them what it's like to be in grade 5.
He is very advanced.
The problem is
he is advanced.
He is.
Because you tell people you were living here, what, 6 years?
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing.
Did not know a neighbor.
I'm a hermit.
Oh.
But when he came into our life,
he was 18 months old. He started walking. His first word was dada, but within the first 5, the word outside was in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the spring, summertime. And he, in the days that he couldn't say outside, he kept pointing out the window or out the door. So you get the message one way or another,
Mm-hmm.
woman. And he would, we have a cul-de-sac, and we would walk towards the cul-de-sac. Hi. And everybody's, oh, the cute little baby and whatnot. And people, that's when I met my neighbors. And I have been living in this same place where we're talking for 5, 6 years. Mm-hmm. I didn't know a single person.
It'll be interesting to see him at 6 years old, because you're saying that he's advanced. So now here's what's happening. You're pouring into him, right? You're giving him a chance to think out his thoughts. He can be creative as he wants to. He doesn't have to stop because we have recess or because Johnny's having a temper tantrum. He could just keep going, and you can make school as short or as long as you'd like it to be. Mm-hmm. And then you can take this little mind that is like, sees a little genius in there, a little socializing genius. And you really could do something crazy like give him a podcast and say, what questions would you like to ask people about homeschooling? Right? And he could have a 2-minute conversation. He could call other people and interview them about that. And you can literally create this communication talent, just cultivate a communication talent and gifting. But when someone's in school, we don't have time. We don't have time after school to do any of those little things. But it's beautiful that you see the things that he's really good at so far. Mm-hmm. You're wondering, like, where is this going? This socialization, where he just is so excited to see other people. But that is something that most kids have. But it's kind of, it's not favorable. Right. When you're in a school environment, because everybody's got to sit down and be quiet
all day long.
In fact, it's not favorable. It's definitely stifling.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, okay, I can be happy over here, but now I'm in the classroom. Right. I got to be serious, so.
And some kids do thrive in that environment. There are kids who do really well, and they have good memories of school. And for some kids,
we made it through those type of schools too.
We did fine.
We did. We turned out.
But school is not what it used to be.
It is not. When I found out that my high schooler does not know how to write in cursive.
Oh, they took that out of school.
They took that away. Yeah. In Montessori, the children were writing in cursive. But I remember hearing a story about a woman whose child was getting into trouble constantly because she was writing her name in cursive. And they had stopped teaching that. So the child, every time she'd hand in a document of some sort with her cursive writing, the teacher would make her, she would lose points. She'd lose marks because she wasn't allowed to write in cursive.
So if the school is not teaching it, the child can't learn it. Is that the concept?
That was the part that was super, super bizarre. But I don't know when, because we were in 2 school systems that actually encourage cursive. But somewhere in the last 5 years, schools stopped teaching. Maybe
I know they stopped teaching it, but I didn't think a child would be penalized for it.
I think some schools decided to bring it back. I think I've heard that
recently.
some schools
Oh,
are going to bring it back.
Yeah, they haven't done it, but they are bringing, because there is, and I don't know, I haven't done the research, but this is what I heard. There's something in the brain that, like, that coordination of writing in cursive, or yeah, it's the writing, not the reading, does something to the brain.
yeah. They
Mm,
say that we shouldn't be teaching children to write in stick form, like in printing.
Mm-hmm.
Like cursive, actually, with their fine motor skills, actually makes more sense because you don't have to pick your hand up and put it back.
mhm,
So that
Right.
mhm.
flow and the ability to just keep flowing in is technically easier for children to write in cursive than to print.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of things, um like I remember, when I was in high school, there was so many clubs and alternatives of things to do.
And now
Like,
they're
you could take different languages, and you could take
Mhm.
different sports, and you could, and now it's like you just have to be in school and take the math. The way I look at it is, the focus is on the numbers,
Mhm.
so you have to at least memorize this so you can pass the test, so that the test, especially if, then I don't know over there, but there's some tests they do, like, at the end of the year,
Mhm.
so that we can pass this test. So, because depending on that test is the budget,
Yes. And so,
and
yeah,
that's
it sounds like we
horrible.
have a couple of things that might be a little bit similar. So, in Canada, my understanding is that each student has a dollar value, which doesn't sound
Oh,
very good at
Lord.
all. But it's
Mhm.
like each student is worth a certain amount of money to the
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
school.
yes.
And so, yes, those scores, they need to have specific test scores to be paid the funding per
Mhm,
student. But then when parents start pulling their kids out, it actually
mm,
does mess around
mhm,
with their budget. But if someone feels that their child is not getting the education that they would hope,
Mm-hmm.
um, it can be difficult because there's some parents who do want to take their child out of the system, but they feel like they don't have the ability, the budget, the time. How do I keep working? What do I do with my kid? And so some people have to get very, very creative in order to make homeschooling work for them.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
definitely. I think what helped me to get on board being pushed to know that they can still eat in basketball, football,
Yeah.
Mhm.
okay? They still have a prom, things. I was first thinking, okay, they can miss out on a whole lot.
They
But
can, yeah. That community, that those
mhm,
memories of going to prom. And so, how did you work through your son and like those extracurricular activities? Did you find programs where he could still go to school and play basketball, or did you have him join a league that's outside of high school?
well, he did a community basketball,
Okay.
but what really helped me was going to the homeschool expo.
Yes.
When I walked into that big room and saw all those different tables, and the first year I went, just blew my mind. All I kept saying was, wow.
It,
And the funny thing was, the first person we talked to was a guy who had been homeschooled, and now was an admissions counselor for a college. So it was not only, I was homeschooled and I have a degree, I
Mhm.
can tell you that universities accept and actually love homeschoolers.
Mhm,
And that, when you find those people, it's almost like they have a golden key that you don't know if you didn't know
Hmm.
existed. And you're like, wait a minute, we can do this, and my child will actually get accepted into university or college, and
mhm,
they can just carry on. It's like, yeah, there are programs for that. There's ways to get ready for that. I'm in that process now because my daughter is going into grade 9 in September. And there are people out there with the golden key, and they know exactly how to maneuver the system in order to get the grades, do what they need to do, and create a portfolio that a university will actually take.
Yeah,
right.
there is nothing. So one of the things, and when I contacted you, was because you said that you tailor the education to the child, instead of just, this is what we need to teach you.
Mhm.
um, how do you find that balance? How do you do that curriculum tailored to the child?
So I had to explain to my mother, who was, very concerned about this whole idea of homeschooling.
Mhm.
And I think in my own frustration, I said, Mom, what do they need to know? They need to know how to read and they need to know how to do math. That's it. That's what they actually need to know, right? So
Mhm.
we can do that at their level, grade 4 level, grade 5 level, grade 6 level. Like those are the basics of being an adult. That's what you need to get any kind of job. They need to know how to read. They need to know how to do math, and they actually need to know how to communicate. They need to know how to
Yes.
speak, how to give public speaking, how to present themselves. Okay, so those 3 things, like that's easy to do. Anybody can do that. The thing that I've noticed about my kids is because I'm an entrepreneur, and their dad is an entrepreneur. They're like, well, I want a business. I
Yeah.
want to do that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so some of the things that we do are tailored to them running their own business. Now, my daughter is doing that. She has a business where she started off making these cute bracelets, and now she makes crochet stuffies. So she'll make last market we did a couple weeks ago. The chickens were a big hit, and she crocheted these chickens. And so we focus on that. That is a part of the curriculum. Her going to a market, setting up a table. I do not crochet. I cannot help her. She's got to make everything herself.
Mm-hmm.
But I am, I guess, her business manager. So I make sure everything
Mm-hmm.
is like perfect because someone's buying your product. And
Mhm.
so having a business, what does that teach you? It teaches you to take your ideas and make them real. It teaches you how to goal set. It teaches you how to deal with money. A couple weeks ago at that market, I said, okay, you made $300. Here's what we're going to do with it. And we divvied it up. And I said, you have to reinvest back into your business. So when we walked into Michael's and she wanted to buy yarn, I said, do you have your reinvestment money? And she said,
Mhm.
yep. I'm like, great. Because now you've already had loans and you need to know that it looks like you made a profit, but you haven't actually turned a profit yet. So
Because you owe money.
you've had money
Mm-hmm.
from your family. We've all invested and you're making money, but you haven't actually turned a profit yet because I know how much money we've all spent
Right.
and technically
Right.
we haven't made the money back. And so we have these conversations about how money works, what profit and loss looks like. She's going into grade 9, right? But
Mhm.
these are things she needs to know as an adult, how
Real
to
life.
budget
Yes.
in real life, because that's what she's going to need to know in order to be successful. So
Right.
when I talk about tailoring the education to the child, it's really what is your child interested in?
Mhm.
And then how do we foster that imagination, that
Mm-hmm.
creativity?
Mm-hmm.
My son is only 10. We haven't quite found the one thing that he can do like on his own. Well, that's not true. He can make slime. He makes slime on his own with my KitchenAid mixer. He makes
Ooh.
slime on his own. But when we focus on what it is they like to do, they have to still do things they don't like to do. We're still doing
Mhm.
math. We're still reading books. We're still writing essays.
Mm-hmm.
But that part of, okay, we can do all those things, but what else would you like to do that we can make you almost a master at in the next 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm. I love it.
So, like you said, you're an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're a life coach. How do you balance the job? Well, and the kids are a little older, so they're probably a little bit more independent. But how do you manage that whole schedule in to have your own life,
Mhm.
manage the education, your own business? How does that work for you?
I don't know.
Right. You
Okay,
just do it, right?
okay.
It has to
I
be
feel
done, and you just do
I
it.
found my people.
Oh my goodness.
I found my people.
I actually said I was on a podcast earlier today, and what I said to that person was, I've learned to work when I have to and not when I want to, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Mm.
Like sometimes you might be vacuuming. I don't know. You come up with an idea and you can go to your computer and hack it all out and create this thing. And that's just sometimes I got to vacuum and then I got to go make dinner. I got to vacuum. We got to go do math. I got to vacuum. We got to go to the library. Right.
Right.
And so I've had to come to peace with the fact that I need to work when I have to, not when I want to. And so I schedule calls and everything after 1 o'clock because homeschooling doesn't take that long. I do that
Hmm.
after 1 o'clock, and the morning is dedicated to homeschooling. But there was a
Mm-hmm.
time I was trying to juggle both like at the same time, and that's just led to burnout. That was just not a good idea.
Right.
So they get the mornings, and then my clients get the afternoons.
So, like I said, you are a life coach. Tell me about that side of you.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned before, I was a makeup artist for many years, and
Mm-hmm.
then I closed my business. And just before COVID, actually, I closed my business, and I really enjoyed the conversations I had with my business coach. But when I closed that business, I really need to decide what I wanted to do next based on my talents and the things I like to do. And one of the things I really like to do was with my makeup clients, we would get into these deep conversations. I loved having conversations about what people wanted to do and where they wanted to go in their life. And so I started off mostly as a business coach. I transferred that skill of listening into business coaching because I had a background in business.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I realized is that many people have great business ideas, but the life that they have can't actually sustain it. So here's what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I was building my empire. I had two small children. I got my makeup studio when I was 8 months pregnant with my son. So I was building an empire. These great things were happening, but unfortunately, in the back end, my marriage was falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I reached over just to grab something on a table in front of a customer, and I literally tipped over. And so that the empire was going, everything was going really well, but I was sleep deprived. I had small children. My marriage wasn't going very well, and I wasn't taking care of myself. I was just going
Mm-hmm.
like full steam ahead. And so when I meet with people who say they want to create something, we actually have to talk about life first
Mm-hmm.
before we talk about business to make sure that they finish. Because a lot of people will start something, and
Mm-hmm.
life, as my kids will say, life will start lifing,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not able to finish it.
Right.
So most of my clients are actually people who have seen success. They've done some really interesting things in their life. And they've gone through elementary school, high school, college, or university, and now they're working at the job that they wanted to work at.
Mm-hmm.
But they've checked all the boxes, and now they can't see any boxes left to check. And so
Mm-hmm.
what happens when life is lifing? What happens when you're not sure what to do next because you've reached all of your goals? Like, isn't it crazy to think that somebody has reached all of their goals, and now
Right.
they're like 40,
Yeah.
45, and they're like, now what? I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know what to actually do next.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the conversations that I love, figuring out what makes them tick, what they're really good at, and then see where we go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Balancing structure and freedom can be challenging. How do you manage this in your homeschooling routine?
Balance and structure,
Mm-hmm.
like life balance and structure.
Yeah, life happens,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
We've had things to happen, and we had to have the 18-year-old work independently
Mm-hmm.
because something else came up, but we still made sure that he had
Work.
the work that he needed. And then we started like giving him work at the beginning of the
Mm-hmm.
week and giving him until like that next Monday
Mm-hmm.
to turn that in. And then you get some more. So we're trying different things, different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the beginning, we were sitting right there at the table with him every day.
And you might have
Okay.
needed to. You never know. You might have actually
Yeah.
needed to do that because he couldn't stay focused. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you tell a parent who may be considering homeschooling and think they can't because they're not educated enough, or because they work, or for what, but they actually want, I mean, some people don't, I mean, like we said, anybody can choose whatever they want with their kids, and some kids thrive in school. But if there's a parent, for whatever reason, that wants to homeschool, how, what would you tell them, and how can they start the process and the journey?
Yeah. So to answer the first part about somebody who believes they're not educated enough, this is going to sound a little bit crass, but the one thing I've told my kids is that I can read better than you, and that's it. Like that's like, let's actually start right there. That
Mm-hmm.
there are qualified teachers that have written amazing curriculum. Some of them come with videos. Some of them, like I said, have online communities that you can join. So you don't have to be like, you don't need an MBA to teach your child
Mm-hmm.
math. You don't. There's
Mm-hmm.
also what I call YouTube University. There is some fantastic person somewhere who is a qualified teacher that has made some crazy video about geometry somewhere that you never thought would be
Yes.
possible. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take that off the table about being educated enough
Mm-hmm.
to teach your children or help your children with their work. Now, the financial part, that's really tricky, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if someone feels like they don't have the finances to decrease their hours at work, or there are women, I'm in a Facebook group with a bunch of homeschooling parents and they have little kids. And so now they actually need childcare, but do they pay for childcare so they can homeschool their kid? Like, how does all of that work? And so what I would suggest is people join some of those homeschool groups, homeschool families, find the association, like you were saying, in your area.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are people who have done it all. There's single homeschooling moms or single homeschooling dads. There are two parents that work in the house. Sometimes one parent stays home. You will be surprised at the different scenarios you can find and people who have become extremely creative with other families so that we could all do this and make it happen for our kids.
One of the things, do you miss anything about having your kids in whatever school? Then, do you miss, or
Privacy.
are they missing some?
Right before I got on this with you, I realized I'm like, oh, it's getting dark. I need to get some lights. And I heard, Mom, Mom, and I'm like, wait a minute. I just told you I'm getting on a call. like, why are you calling
So
me?
you say, did I miss the peace and quiet?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not a society, at least in North America, we're not, unless you're Amish, we're not a society that cultivates, that encourages people to keep their kids at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
husband's working, the wife is working. And so when you say, what do I miss? I'm like, yeah, I miss them being at school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up with this thought process.
Right.
It was introduced to me. And maybe if I'm truthful, I thought those people were crazy. And then I realized that they weren't crazy. They wanted something for their family. But then I thought I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't. There's no way that I could do that. And my former husband was not interested in having us homeschool, right? And so saying all of that and then knowing that I was running a business, it's like I'm very business minded. I'm like driven. And the challenge I had before we started homeschooling is that when I'm mom, I'm mom. Like that's what we're doing. And when I'm running business, I'm running business. And that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm in a situation where I gotta pivot. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I gotta do this. And it can be tiring. It can be tiring because here I am writing something that needs all of my focus and I'm doing my marketing and I gotta think of what I'm trying to say. And then someone is behind me going, what you doing? Who are you talking
You're
to?
telling me that doesn't go away?
What doing it? What doing it? That's what
Taller?
the
They never
3-year-old said.
outgrow that?
Well, they
Oh.
get taller and then they want to know. So yes, I miss my kids being in school. Right, but like at the end of the day there's not a lot of children that actually get the opportunity to stay home with their parent like all
Right.
day, right? Or there's not a lot of opportunity for parents to meet the parents of the children that they're playing with. So if I say the one thing I actually enjoy about homeschooling is I'm choosing my children's friends. Like I actually get to decide who they hang out with, who's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
good influence, who can they be a good influence on.
Right.
And so that is that's one of the good parts. Oh, and sorry, and actually, because somebody's going to say, well, you're not introducing your kids to different kinds of people. No, I am. Because they
Of
they
course.
go to gymnastics, they go to swimming, like they're out in the world, they meet all kinds of people, right?
Right.
But the people that are closest to us, we do get to decide who comes into our sphere of influence, and they meet all kinds of people on the outside.
And I think they have a better opportunity to meet other people because, again, in the school system, you're there in the building for 6 to 8 hours, and you just meet the people in that building.
Building. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yep.
When you're homeschooling, and I, like you said, I'm the creative one that likes to do stuff, and I love I love field trips. I love doing going
Doing that,
museums and stuff
moms.
like
Yep.
different learning techniques.
Yeah.
I love to always have some going on,
Mhm.
so that he can be exposed to other experiences, to
Yeah.
other people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
She has restricted.
we wonder where he gets that from.
I have been restricted into the area where I can go because uh, I wanted to go apple picking. And look at her face. And we did go, but it was like a 4-hour drive.
We were almost at the Tennessee state line. We live in Georgia.
Don't you have any apples in Georgia? I know you got peaches, but
That's what I'm saying. Walmart, Publix, Kroger.
oh, there's gonna be a farm somewhere in Georgia.
That's what I told her. We got too many grocery stores. We could have went and picked any apples we want.
Okay, now I know where he gets it from. You're telling me that he's but now I know where he gets it from.
We rode and we rode and we rode. And I have a pet peeve. These roundabouts,
Oh, okay.
We had
I dislike them strongly.
and the streets.
We had to go through 4 of them back to back.
Oh, she was hot.
Okay.
She was livid.
But when we got there, I made the best of it. They had a little farm with animals.
She was hugging cows.
I got to rub a cow.
Did you rub a cow?
I did. We took a picture of it. We got to rub a cow. So soft.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
After she gets there, she enjoys it.
Yeah, but on the way there,
You guys are enjoying this homeschool adventure.
Thank you. I think so too.
Now, next season we'll try to find an apple farm that's like at least an hour and a half away.
Well, that was like a year ago.
Okay.
I have not been allowed to pick any fruit that is not out of the supermarket.
I have boundaries. What's my, how many miles away? Within how many miles?
25-mile radius. I've been confined.
If you can't find it within 25 miles, maybe we should not be going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and this year I wanted to go strawberry picking, and I was like, it's within the 25. Mm-mm.
It's like 24.5
It was
miles.
I was finding the border of the 20. She would not
Oh
come.
my gosh, you guys are absolutely the two of you
Because
are.
Costco got strawberries 2-pack 5. Buy one get one free.
You ladies are awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes when we go grocery shopping, she tells the baby, "See, you did a school trip, a field trip. This is a field trip. What's that? An apple? That's a banana. There's a melon. Okay, you're done for school today."
It would be funny to see to give him a pen and paper. I'm sure his penmanship needs work, right?
Oh yeah.
But I'm sure it'd be great to tell him, you can make the grocery list. What do we need? And that is a part of homeschooling, teaching him how to count the money, put a P for peaches and an S for strawberry, because he can't write the whole word out, right? You say, make your grocery list. Here's $5. And now you got to tell me, the lady said, this is how much. We got to count the money. You got to teach him how to do that. Right. And all of those things become a homeschooling adventure. That's what I learned, but within the community that I was in, all of those things, I need to actually do that more, because my kids, most kids aren't exposed to cash anymore, right? We're tapping everything.
Right.
I have sent them to the grocery store, and I say to them, okay, you have backpacks on. Do not take your backpack off your back. The people will start following you around the store.
Yeah, I think you're trying to steal.
And here's the money, and here's a piece of paper. And so the 10-year-old had a clipboard with paper, and he'd write everything down and how much it would cost. And they had to figure out how much, if they had enough money for everything that they need. I want to do that more often. I don't always think about it. I just get in the car and just drive and just get there. But those things become a part of your curriculum, right? That's a part of life. And that's what we want them to be able to do.
One of the things Mason likes is when we go to the produce area, the scales. So, he likes to weigh stuff, even though he doesn't know what that really means yet, but he likes to
Mm-hmm.
weigh. And so I tell him, okay, so you have to keep putting things until you see 3, because that's 3 pounds, and we're going to buy 3 pounds. So, that's one of
Mm-hmm.
the little things but because he likes to play with the scale, because
Mm-hmm.
he likes to see the number moving. We have an older type of scale, not the one with not a digital one.
Mhm.
So he likes to see that little arrow moving.
Right.
So huh?
Yeah, no, that's good. It's
Yeah, and
good.
he
Yeah.
plays until I say, okay, we're gonna get 3 pounds. So watch until it gets to 3, and he keeps putting things until it gets to 3.
And you know what? That's like some people might say, well, we can do that after school, right? You could, but most of
You're
the
too
time
tired for that.
we're too tired. We've been running. We were running. You know what I didn't realize? I didn't realize how stressful it was to get them to school until I
Mm-hmm.
stopped having to do that. And so
Mm-hmm.
once like you have the stress of getting them to school, then you have the stress of getting them home, and then the dinner, and then the traffic, and all these things. When we go to the grocery store, I'm not playing with you in the scale. It's like we got to get the stuff, and we got to go home, and I'm going to
Right.
make dinner, and we got to do the whole thing over again, right? So yeah, like
Yes.
again, those things are part of the curriculum, but it's
Yeah.
also you got to do what works for your family,
Yeah.
and having the
Mm-hmm.
time to have that conversation about him and the scale. It's like you have the mental space to
Right.
actually see, oh, here's something that that's a learning opportunity for him, right?
Right.
Everything is a learning opportunity. Right now, my daughter, she's 14. She found a recipe online. I'm talking to, and she's cooking.
Nice.
She,
Oh, she's cooking while we're.
now she's making rice and some chicken, crispy something, Thai, whatever. I don't know. So we'll see. The house hasn't burned
That's
down yet.
great.
Nobody's calling me, and I can smell it.
The house not burning.
Yeah, we had to throw home economics in there
Yeah.
to teach the 18-year-old how to fry your own hamburger
Oh, yeah.
instead of us always having to do it.
Yeah.
That making a sandwich is possible.
Yeah, you can make a sandwich. There is no wrong way.
Yes. Now you can't go backwards, but I have my 10-year-old, and this was hard, right? Because remember, like as women, we just get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how we're programmed. But I had to take a
Mm-hmm.
step back and say, if I'm going to do this homeschool thing, they have to be more independent. And if I
Right.
don't
Yes.
give them the ability to cook, then I'm stuck doing that, right? There's going to be somebody knocking on my door telling me that they're hungry when I'm on a call with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's doing what she's doing. He knows how to make oatmeal. That's like the one thing he knows how to make on the stove, like on his own. He cuts his own strawberries, puts them in. And so I'm giving him a tiny repertoire of things at 10 years old that he can do himself, so that I don't get knocks on my door, because
Right.
they have to learn their own independence in order for
Right.
them
Right.
to grow. So you're starting fresh at 18.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. This has been so much fun.
Yes, we truly enjoy talking with you.
Oh, thanks.
I am so glad we had this conversation. To everybody listening to us, we're having fun with it, but it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to let you know that it can be done.
Yes, it can.
Yeah, it won't be as clean and neat and tidy. It's good.
Yeah.
It's going to be a messy process. It is,
Right.
but the outcome is that your
Mhm.
children grow up with a parent, right? Because your spouse might be working, but they're growing
Mhm.
up with one of their parents who is cultivating their interests and the things that they're good at, and that's really what homeschooling is about.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Nicole, we thank you so much for sharing your insight and your experience with us today. It's inspiring to hear how you tailored the education for your children to fit your children's needs and balance it with a successful career.
Thank you.
And we are very, very proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sending me off crying.
Oh, we do the crying here. I'm the crier.
You're the crier.
I am the
Mhm.
crier.
Thank you
Mhm.
so much. Thank you for your time.
She has paper towels here for me.
Uh-huh.
Did you
I'm the
cry?
crier.
Yeah.
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 I'm the crier.
Just in case.
Just in
Mhm.
case. You know, it's good when you know how you know each
Uh-huh.
other. You flow back and forth.
Yeah, you
But
got to know the person, okay?
oh, you guys are awesome.
Thank you.
No
Thank you
problem.
so much. And this is your house whenever you want to come back. You're part of Thrive now.
Awesome. Oh, you ladies are awesome. That's great. Thank you so
Thank
much for your time.
you.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
No problem.
Bye bye. For our listeners, if you're considering homeschooling or looking for ways to personalize your child's education, Nicole's approach offers a valuable guidance. This message is also for folks who have people in their life that are homeschooling. Now they can understand some of the things that are happening in the homeschooling community and not think that the children, just by the fact that they are being homeschooled, are missing on important parts of their lives.
Right. Remember, the key to thriving is finding what works best for you and for your family. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to Thrive by the Rising Muse and leave us a comment. And don't forget to connect with us on social media for more tips and discussions on faith, family, and mental health.
Also, remember that if you're experiencing a mental health crisis, please dial 988. If a loved one is facing a mental health crisis, please dial 911 or take them to the nearest emergency facility. You are not alone. Help is always available. Until next time, stay safe. And don't forget to thrive. Have a blessed day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.